As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
There's no crying in baseball!
I ate his liver with some fava beans. A nice cliente.
That was totally wicked!
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change!
And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. I'm your host, Josh G. And today I'm joined by my regular co-host, Chad.
Oh, hi.
And Chris.
Sup?
Chad always seems so surprised, and all I'm doing is going alphabetically. I'm not making it tough. I just do it by the...
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
This whole time, Chad's always surprised, and yet... it's the
I just figured
same
you like
every
saying my
time.
name first. I don't know. He's got a point there.
Alphabetically, it just rolls off the tongue. It feels like it's in order.
Hashtag hot Chad.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a thing at one point. That was a
Bring
thing
it
at
back.
one point.
It was all over the internet. It was trending.
It
We
blew
talked-
up the internet.
It blew up the internet. People just couldn't handle themselves.
Hot Chad. Oh, let's get it trending again, guys. Hashtag Hot Chad. Get it out there. Get it going. Let's go viral with Hot Chad.
Spread it to your family, friends, whoever you can get in contact with, coworkers.
There you go.
Get it trending.
There we go.
All right. And today we have something we're going to be doing very different today. This is not your typical episode. We're going to be doing a movie draft. And it's going to be all about vampire movies. So in a few minutes, I'm going to explain the rules. But first, we'll see how Chad lays out of this question. But I'm going to ask him anyway. What made you choose vampire movies? I know it had gotten brought up. But still, when I asked you, you said, let's go with vampire movies.
Because I am a vampire.
Oh,
You know, it's all sex, blood, and rock and roll.
so Chad, you say that as a joke, but there are people on TikTok who are only on there at night who claim they are real vampires, and they only do go live at night. And I've come across it scrolling, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is wild.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've always been a fan of vampires ever since I was a child, right, Chris? Tell me.
Yes. I mean, you went.
My very
Trick-or-treating.
first obsession was Count Dracula, the Count on Sesame Street.
That's true.
Okay.
And I don't know how many times as a kid I dressed up as Dracula.
Just in
Even on
general, or only
even
at
on-
Halloween?
yeah,
I
just
mean, in general.
in
I
general,
wore a
too.
cape everywhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I was a superhero. It was because I was Dracula.
That's
Fuck
actually awesome.
superheroes. So
Yeah, because our mom made a cape. It was a nice looking cape too.
it was really nice. I love that thing.
And he, yeah.
I wore the shit out of it. I wore it to
that
school.
kid,
I wore it to church. I didn't go to church. I
Yeah.
don't do that shit. But you know, I went everywhere. That's the point. And I was Dracula. I was not a fucking superhero. Superheroes are lame. Dracula and vampires are where it's at.
I love that. I love that story, Chad. Chris, what about you? What was your relationship with vampires while Chad was definitely having an affair with them?
Really wasn't much. Honestly, it was just through Chad, because he did like the Count, and then his other one also was Dracula from Monster Squad.
Yes.
That was really the big one that he liked a lot.
Yeah.
Because we didn't watch a whole lot of horror when we were little because we were too scared of it. Maybe some clips here and there, but we were able to watch Monster Squad as kids, and he just fell in love with Dracula. So that's kind of where, I guess you say, my relationship to vampires starts.
Okay. I would probably say Monster Squad was probably mine.
Oh, the other one too, by the way, I just remembered. Oh my god, this flashback. Early 90s, and only lasted one season, but they did a remake of Dark Shadows.
Oh yeah.
And our mom was she liked that show a lot because
My
she
mom
liked
was
the
a
old
show-
Dark
a fan of
Shadows.
the show from
Yeah.
the 60s.
So of course she ended up enjoying. It was like 1990 or something like that, and so Chad, also Barnabas Collins, So I mean, so I know that was another favorite.
Yeah,
too.
I was obsessed with
So that's the other
Barnabas
one.
Collins.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I definitely did not watch that, and I don't remember. I don't remember you guys watching it, but I guess it's not something we watched together. So that makes
no,
sense.
because this is at a time before we moved to Charlotte or before we met. So,
Mhm.
like I said,
It
it was like
right before we
1990
moved to
before.
Charlotte,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But fun show. It's good actually. I remember. Oh my god, I don't know how long ago it's been now, but seeing like some clips of it and all, and I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good. I wish it lasted longer.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get into the rules and how this draft is going to work. So this is what people would call a snake draft. So basically, it slithers around the order. Basically, you start off round one, you go 1, 2, 3, and then you work your way back 3, 2, 1, and you just
So
work
is
your
this
way around the order.
kind of like sports, Josh? Because you got to realize I'm, and sports, I'm kind of like,
He's a
what's
little
that?
limp-wristed. He's a little limp-wristed, so he doesn't do sports.
I mean, it definitely
Chad, that's
works.
not politically correct to say.
This is
No, I'm just
definitely
kidding.
how drafts work in like fantasy football. But I've been a part of other movie drafts with online people, and this is how they tend to do it. So
Wish we had
it's kind of
sound
a typical
effects.
way.
Could be
It's
fun.
not like how the NFL does a true draft. No, they don't do that. But I think it's more in fantasy style, I guess. I don't know the origin of the snake draft, Chris. I can't
Real
tell you
football,
that.
they just send intimidating guys wearing those what are those shades called, like the
Aviators.
aviators that just go out in the field. They got their arms crossed. They just look at people. And they're like, I want this guy. That's what it is.
Is that what a scout is to you, Chad? Just a big,
Yeah, there's some intimidating guy coming out chewing gum, wearing their aviators and their ball caps,
Checking out
Okay.
guys and jock
checking out
straps.
guys
No,
in
I'm
jock straps and tight fitting uniforms, fantasizing
Okay.
about them playing for their team. Yeah,
Okay.
just- Actually, that is
Yeah.
my fantasy.
it's everybody's
Oh.
fantasy.
Everyone's fantasy. Oh, there
Everybody's
you go.
fantasy.
So to determine the draft order, I have this handy little spin the wheel app, and I'm just going to hit it. We're going to see who goes first and who goes second, and then obviously who's left is who goes third. We're going to do this live on the air.
It'll be Christopher Belvins first.
The wheel is spinning, and
Wait, you gotta hold it up. I gotta see it in the camera to make sure you're not lying.
Chad, who did not want to go first,
Man, are you kidding?
Chad specifically told us he didn't want to go first. Is now going.
That is called karma, folks.
It's now going first.
So what does that
Sorry,
mean
Chad.
that he goes first, Josh?
That means he'll get the very first pick. So,
Okay.
and
You
let's
heard
see if
first.
it's
He gets
me
the
or
first
you.
pick.
Come on.
No,
I
I'm
go
not
second.
glad. Oh, of course.
No, Chris, that's actually a good thing because that means when you get your third, you get immediately the next one. So you
Yeah.
get two in a row very quickly,
Oh Lord.
which is a good thing. Like I would rather have third than second in this case. But that's because that's how my mind works.
Gotcha.
Now, I will say this: what we're going to do is we're going to pick either our favorite vampire movies, what we think are the best vampire movies, however we want to go about it. And when this is all said and done, when you're listening to this, if you're listening to this the day of the release, we'll say tomorrow, the next day, I'm going to put up a poll to see who won the draft. And just want to vote, see, have fun. So make sure you're following us over on Twitter or X, as they're calling it. I still call it Twitter.
Right.
Just go
So-
follow us there at YNF Movie Pod. I'll have the poll up there so you can vote on who you think won this draft. Whatever metrics you want to use for that.
What does the winner get?
So I was
Flexing
thinking
rights?
maybe
Flexing rights,
Flexing rights.
bragging rights, whatever it's called. I don't know what the kids say these days.
I mean, bragging rights, but also maybe if we do another one of these, if we like this and do another draft, they get to be the one to pick the topic. Which-
Okay.
Yeah. So
You
I'm
get to
worried.
pick a theme.
Yes, I'm terrified of what
What
Chris
we
will
need is a
pick.
theme.
What we need
Red
is a
and wild
theme.
is our theme.
Red and wild. That's your theme.
I
Red
am
and wild is
terrified.
Our theme.
All right. So, Chad, are you ready? Are you ready to take your first movie off the board?
Sure. Okay, we're ready for my pick. Okay, gotcha. So it's not strictly just a vampire film, but a vampire is a major player in this one. Because he kind of is on a mission and he's trying to do everything, but definitely Monster Squad.
Okay.
Doom, doom, doom.
Well,
Doom,
I
doom,
mean,
doom.
we
And
did
Tale of the Tape shows that Monster Squad released in 1980s. What 87?
7, yes.
Yeah,
I-
because that was probably my well, I mean, besides the Count, I mean that was probably my earliest obsession with vampires. Like that Dracula and that one was like to me like the penultimate, and still is like the penultimate Dracula look. I don't know.
I can't argue that. I
Yeah.
kind of agree. He's a terrifying Dracula.
Mhm.
When he picks up little Phoebe and calls her a bitch, like it's just like, whoa, like you're
I
taken
know.
aback by that.
You wouldn't see that today in
No,
film. You would
no,
not see
definitely
that.
not.
Oh my god,
Definitely.
we've gotten too soft.
We've gotten too soft as a society, Chris.
Yes,
You're right.
I
We
mean-
would not do that.
I mean, come
agree.
on. What monster's going to sit there and pick up Phoebe and be like, "You're such a precious little doll.
No, that's fair. And
Now
Yeah.
give me that secret. Now give me that diamond or
Give me
whatever.
the root or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, emerald or whatever.
Give me
it
that
was.
emerald."
I'm not mad at this pick. I didn't put it down on my list just because, like you said, he is the key to it.
Yeah,
But it's not all about him. But I agree. I wrestled with
Yeah.
whether or not I wanted to play Monster Squad. Now I don't even have to worry about it because you took it off the board.
yeah, I wrestled with it too on my list, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, like, because I
Fair,
mean, he,
that's
like I
fair.
said, he's the major, what do you call it? It's not the antagonist,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
in the movie, and he takes up a big portion. He's an important component of the story, so.
Well, I mean, he blows up that cop's partner, and
He blows up he had a thing. He
blows
was
up the
he was
treehouse.
a pyromaniac. Yeah, he was a pyromaniac. He blew up the treehouse and everything. So
That awesome treehouse that I know.
I was
wanted
gonna
when we
say
were
that
kids.
awesome treehouse that we wanted as kids.
Yeah.
All of us that had watched Monster Squad wanted that.
Oh my god!
So yeah,
amazing.
Monster Squad, 1987. That's my first pick.
And with that, Chad, I'm gonna use this as a chance to do a shameless plug for myself. And last year, go back with Jeff Hunt and I when we got to talk to Andre Gower, the star of Monster Squad, who
Oh yeah, there we
played
go.
Sean.
Of course,
Hey,
rub
listen.
it in our faces.
Man, listen to our episode because it's a fun one. And at the end, he determines whether or not me and Jeff get to be in the goddamn club.
Oh.
So
That's
go
funny.
listen
Love
for
it.
that alone.
That is funny. I like when you said the goddamn club.
Well, that's what he says.
That's what he
You
says
know,
in the movie. Yep.
I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?
So good.
Yes. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn before Chris takes his 2 picks in a row. And Chad, I really thought you were going to take this one, so I'm actually kind of glad you took Monster Squad because you left me
Oh no.
this classic,
Oh no.
absolute classic from 1992. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh. Yeah.
Dun,
That
dun,
was my other
dun.
pick. I'm jealous, but it's a great pick. I mean, aside from Keanu Reeves in there,
Keanu Reeves isn't great.
But it's still memorable.
It's
He's still
memorable.
memorable in that role, regardless. I think
It's memorable. His scene with the 3 brides is very
Yes.
memorable for all the wrong reasons when I was a kid.
sure. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about that. But this movie has Gary fucking Oldman.
Mhm.
I mean, in 3 completely different looks at that. Like,
Mhm.
you watch that, a lot of people wouldn't even know it's the same actor playing all those different roles. You know?
No, I mean, I know I certainly didn't as a kid.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
Especially in that fantastic makeup as Dracula, as the Count, I should say.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because I mean, he appears as like the older version with the
well,
butt
I almost
hairdo.
kind of
He's
give
got,
him
like,
4. I almost kind of make it 4 looks. Just I know it sounds a little weird because in the very beginning, he's it shows
Oh yeah, yeah.
him
Him
in
as
the-
the knight.
as the knight, and so
As
for
Vlad,
me,
yeah.
he looks very different, even like kind of middle aged or something
Yeah.
compared to how he looks when he gets
He's
to
Victorian
London.
England, London. Yeah.
Because he looked like big or kind of hulking a little
Mm.
bit, just because I know the suit did it for him.
Oh, and like, can we just talk about how amazing the production design in that movie is?
Yeah, it's
I mean, it
beautiful.
was just like an
Absolutely
art
beautiful.
piece. I mean, everything, the sets, the costumes were probably the best thing about that.
Yep.
That whole thing, and then like
Makeup.
the makeup in there was just amazing. And then, like, I know he also appeared as like the wolf thing.
Yeah, there was.
The
Yeah,
wolf.
there
I
was the
forgot
wolf
about that.
creature. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
almost like 5 there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about the wolf creature. So you're right.
Because
I
there's
forgot
the
about
bat
that.
creature too. Like
The
we
bat
were thinking
creature
of,
was
and
memorable to me. Like, I still think that's probably one of the coolest like vampire looks ever on film.
his
was
count
that-
look, and then his Victorian, which to me, his Victorian look is like one of the sexiest
Oh,
vampires.
It was very
out there.
sexy.
I was like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Him
I
just
have
walking
crossed
down the
oceans.
street.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh my
Time
god,
to
Winona
find-
Ryder's lucky right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with everything. So there you go, Bram Stoker's Dracula off
I
the
love it.
board.
You heard it here, folks. What a choice for Josh here tonight, picking a big vampire movie with Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1991.
All right, Chris, here we go.
I think for me, I'm going to pick 1985's Fright Night.
I
good
had a
choice.
feeling this would be your first pick, but I wasn't
That's what I
sure.
Yeah.
So I think I'll go with that one. And
Why
then-
Fright Night? Let's talk about Fright Night.
Oh,
before we
Fright
get
Night,
to the
okay.
second pick.
Well, Fright Night is one of, it's like my other favorite vampire movie. Like, I always get stuck really between that one and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
So if you had first pick, you would have went Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I probably would, yeah. I probably would have, yeah.
I was worried Chad would. I was not worried you would actually. So I'm kind of glad you didn't
Yeah,
get it. There,
that
'cause
was like one of my top ones there, and I was like, ah, crap. But then I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll go with Fright Night. So I'm a fan of the Fright Night universe, I guess you'd say. So I like it a lot. I like the cast, the characters. You know, it doesn't try to be necessarily serious, even though they're in a serious predicament. I guess you know, it's a scary predicament they're in. So, and then for me too, like, I'm pretty lucky that I really got to meet all the cast, except of course Roddy McDowall. So I got to meet them one year at a con and have some conversations with a few of them, which was like Amanda Bierce was fun. Oh my gosh, she was just so much fun.
Well,
And-
speaking of like
yeah.
suave and sexy,
I was gonna say, yeah,
You know,
Chris Sarandon as
Chris
Jerry
Sarandon?
Dandridge.
And Chris, oh yes,
super like
charming, yeah, especially the club scene.
Mm-hmm.
That club scene just does it. And then the makeup, I love. And then the other thing too is, I like that the vampire in this one, we're in the Fright Night universe, I guess you say, it exaggerates. It really
Yeah.
makes the creature a monster, so it's not about the sexiness
Mhm.
necessarily. You know, they actually shapeshift into something very vicious and
Yeah.
scary, and huge teeth and big jaws and everything. So I mean, Amanda Bierce's transformation
say,
into a
that
vampire
hurt.
is memorable, and just
Right.
like that whole jaw like opening, if you
Yeah.
will. And
Her look is
and-
the one I
yeah.
remember the most when I think of Fright Night. Is actually hers.
for
Oh,
me, I'm a
really
fan
good.
of practical makeup effects too. So
You can't.
I love
practical
that it was
makeup effects in
practical and
horror
not
films.
CGI. And
Yeah.
CGI is good for some things. Don't get me wrong, but when it's actually just kind of that real magic
Mhm.
effect or something, there's something that's a little bit more impactful about it that stays with you. So I enjoy. It's just one of my favorites.
All right, Chris, you're right back up.
Yay! So with that said, because like I'm kind of debating between a couple. Man, this is really much what they go through with football, right? When they see the stats on some of the players. Like,
There you
do I
go.
really want to go with this one or do I want to go with that one? So,
What will he choose?
oh my god. Well, you know what's I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do something a little left field with this one.
Oh.
This one's a little bit different and probably not one that people will mostly think about or something. But I'm just going to do it because it is funny as well, and I think it's a little underrated. But
Don't you steal my movie?
I'm going to go with Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood.
Oh wow. Okay. That one I did not think of. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And Chris has chosen Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood, 1990.
I just remember the cheer she had. The 2, 4, 6, 8. You can watch me masturbate.
Yes.
Yep.
That's one. And of course, who was the guy? Dennis Miller.
Yes. Yeah.
Dennis Miller,
500
yes.
pound gorilla or whatever he's called. Right. Like,
You got him as the investigator trying to find, I think, the girl's brother, who's Corey Feldman.
With Erica Laniak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you have, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting her name now?
As the head vampire?
model. Yeah, the
Countess?
model.
Yeah. Angie Everhart.
Yes. She was really good in that too, just as she had a very great presence in there, and you definitely felt like she was like, you definitely had that feeling like she meant business. You know what I mean? She was very powerful, and her presence lent to being like, yeah, this vampire is ancient and she's powerful and she's not one to play with, but
I'm not the lady to mess
but I
with.
like that she plays some games with people too as well. So I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I agree. I like Bordello of Blood. I know a lot of people shit on it because of how horrible. I mean,
it's something compared to like Demon Knight. I understand because Demon Knight was really good, but it does have that Tales from the Crypt feel to it. You can see why it's a Tales from the Crypt movie. But
which is funny because they made this movie in like a few weeks.
Really?
Before they went into production. Oh my god! There is a podcast called "How Not to Make a Movie" by Al
awesome.
Katz and Gil Adler, who produced it, and they were completely set on making this other movie.
Oh, you know what?
Called Dead Easy.
Okay.
And
yeah,
I want
because
to
you know
say,
what, like the
I want to say
Blu-ray.
Robert Zemeckis had the script, and he's like,
it.
"If you make my script, I'll do this or whatever." And they're like, just a few weeks before production, and they're like, "Yep." Joel Silver says, "Yep, you got to go make this instead now." They didn't want Dennis Miller. He was not really willing to work with the.
And I heard it was pretty difficult, I think. Anyway,
yeah,
he seems like it. Yeah,
because I remember, the Blu-ray. If anyone has the collector's edition Blu-ray, they kind of talk about some of the troubles behind the scenes, and they even talk about Dennis Miller being problematic behind the scenes.
Very much so, because at the time he still had his Friday night HBO show, so he had to leave early on Fridays. He wouldn't come in till around lunch on Mondays. He didn't want to work more than an 8-hour day, which, as actors and actresses, that's just not reasonable. They work long hours to get it done. Yeah, he was a big problem.
He was. And actually, I think there was a story or some sort about with Angie Everhart where she talked about that he was just hard to get along with. I think there was something too, like where her experience was not like the best experience with him. But regardless, they turned out a movie that to me I was like,
I enjoy it.
It's still fun, and talk about practical effects as well. That's it's one of those last good horror movies to use practical effects. I don't really recall a whole lot of CGI, but it's still ooey gooey and all that stuff, which was pretty fun. It was especially like the beginning when you see where they open up her casket and they found her, and she murders those couple of guys and takes out the heart, some of the guys, and she'll eat the heart. Oh man, yeah, brutal.
Brutal stuff. All right, I guess it is back to me. And since it hasn't been taken, I think I am. I'm going to go back to 1998, and I'm going to take the first Blade movie with Wesley Snipes.
That's a good one. Yep.
I went back and I watched Blade and Blade 2. I didn't feel like I needed to watch Blade Trinity. I didn't think it was in the running for this, so I skipped that one. Because in my memory, Blade 2 was always the better Blade.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what I always thought too.
I always thought that until I did this most recent rewatch. And Blade 2 definitely has more action.
Right.
But I feel like Blade's the better story.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it this time more than I think I ever had. I think, I was about to say Stephen Frost. Stephen Dorff as Deacon Frost is pretty great. I think he does a great job. I like Udo Kier as he's really the head of the vampires until Deacon Frost takes him out, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Totally forgot about that, but yeah, you're right.
Defanged him.
Kudo Kira.
It took him out and burned him alive, and I mean in the sunlight.
And who could forget Pearl?
Pearl. Yes, good old Pearl. Yes,
Yeah, no,
Pearl.
that was a great movie. I love that movie. I remember, I remember my mom taking me to go see that movie. I think it was on a Sunday, and she worked the night shift at the ER. So I woke her up on Sunday during the day while she was sleeping to take me to go see Blade, and she did.
Nice. I
yeah.
went with my cousin and uncle. So
Mm.
I remember going.
Yeah,
to
it was
see
just
it.
it was a great movie, and of course I loved it because I mean it had two of my favorite things, which was vampires and action in it.
And you were familiar with the character.
I was kind of familiar with the
kinda
characters because I mean I liked
yeah.
Marvel comics and stuff like that, so I remember the character from that.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't into comics back then, so I had no idea it was based off a comic. But I think just the vampire, the action factor, and the Wesley Snipes factor brought in a whole new audience that you didn't have to be a fan of the comic books to come in.
Well, I heard. I think he's actually reprising the role for the new Deadpool movie.
Who?
Wesley Snipes.
Oh, really?
Really?
I know-
Even though they got Mahershala Ali as the new Blade?
Mahershala Ali. Yeah,
Mahershala?
it's just, because like Deadpool 3, they're bringing back like the Fox own characters because they're doing a story with that. Well, those
Sorry,
characters
some
will lead over
alternate
to Secret
timelines or
Wars.
something?
Yeah, it's because of the multiverse thing. Because that's what their phase they're in right now. But it's supposed to be, I think, kind of like a tribute to the Fox stuff, but then also finally a finale to all of that, so that they can have a clean slate with those characters.
All right.
But I think that it may be a rumor. I don't
know.
know. I heard he was coming back, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a fan of Wesley Snipes because I'm a big
right.
fan of Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
Yes.
Yep. Passenger 57.
I was gonna say, and that was the next movie I was gonna say. For some reason, I remember me and my mom watching Passenger 57 quite a bit back then for some reason. So I
And
was
of course,
just
Chris and I were also fans of Tu Wong Fu.
Yes,
so
Tu
we
Wong
knew
Fu.
Wesley Snipes from that.
Which was a good turn for him too. Like it was completely different.
Yeah,
but he was so good.
Yeah, well, because him and Patrick Swayze were known as like these sort of actiony, like manly man stars, and they did something like Tu Wong Fu where they're wearing makeup and dresses and heels,
being
and
drag queens. Yeah, so it was just completely different, but it was great performances.
Yeah,
really great chemistry.
But yeah, Blade is great. It's definitely up there as one of my favorite vampire movies for sure. So I'm with you on that one.
All right. So after a few picks have gone by, Chad, it's finally your turn again.
Yeah. So my number 2 is going to be I think it was 1992. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh,
it is, and I was
so
waiting on that one.
Christy Swanson, Luke Perry, and
Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland. God, they had such a dynamite cast in there.
Oh,
Paul
not
Rubens.
even to mention the small parts: Ben Affleck, Hilary Swank, David Arquette. In a
yeah,
decent
like
role.
some of these people that it's their early films.
Yeah, and
is it Rutger Hauer?
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah. Rutger Hauer
He plays
yeah.
Lothos the vampire, the main vampire in the movie.
Paul Rubens.
Paul Rubens, yeah. Rest in peace, man. Luke Perry, rest in peace. But yeah, I mean that was one of those movies where again it combined my two favorite things, which was vampires and action.
And then of course there's comedy in this
and
one.
it's a comedy on top of that too. And honestly, I think to me, Christy Swanson sort of embodied what the character of Buffy was supposed to be, more so than Sarah Michelle Gellar. No, Sarah Michelle Gellar gets more memorized for it because the show was such a big thing when it came out later on. But Christy Swanson sort of embodied that like Valley Girl,
Well, she was the what was the concept of the character, whereas I would say when the TV show came out, which is amazing, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of Sarah Michelle Gellar. But I think what was great about with Sarah Michelle Gellar is that she, at that point when that show started, I know she was already established as the Slayer, so I think she was just a little bit more mature, right?
Sure, yeah.
Compared to what I almost really consider the movie as being like the one that said it all, and because it matured her in the movie as well.
Yeah.
So something clicked with her.
Doing here?
Yeah.
Naked.
But me and Chad, we quote that a lot too. That movie, yeah, and that's the one with the locker room scene.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we do that all the time.
But yeah, like it was
That big
and
hairy
also,
mole.
Like, Chrissy Swanson
Ew.
was like probably like my one of my first celebrity crushes, because of that movie, and
Yeah, I see that.
I remember, and it was funny. Like the memory I have of that one was I remember my mom took me to go see Buffy the Vampire Slayer because my mom also wanted to see it because my mom was also a big fan of vampires as well. Then she's like, I think that's probably where I get my love for them.
Okay.
But Chris, I think Dad ended up taking Chris to go see Death Becomes Her
because it came out like the same weekend.
So yeah, it came
Oh
out,
wow!
yeah.
Hell of
So
a weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty. That's like the one memory I have of that is me and my mom going to see Buffy, and then Chris and Dad going to see Death Becomes Her.
And that's funny because I couldn't remember which parent took me, but that's amazing you remember.
No, I remember Mom took me because
Okay.
Mom was the one that told me about the movie, and I remember asking her, I was like, "Is it scary?" She's like, "Oh," she's like, "It's a comedy." So, yeah.
Nice.
So he ended up enjoying, yeah, and then of course
I mean,
ended
my
up
mom
going
also
see-
took me to go see The Crow and Crow City of Angels.
I love The
as
Crow.
well. So, you
Oh,
know,
there you
my mom likes to think that, like, when I tell her, you know, when I tell stories about, oh yeah, we were watching like these kind of movies as kids, my mom's like, I can't believe y'all were allowed to watch. And I'm like, Ma, you're the one that helped facilitate all this.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's
So-
funny.
But yeah, so that's the one thing. So yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, my number 2.
Nice.
All right,
All right,
Chad, right back to you.
Oof. Okay.
I know it's tough, right?
It's tough.
It's like look at all these players. Who do
Alright.
we choose from?
I think it came out in '98. I'm not entirely sure, '97, but it's John Carpenter's Vampires would be my number
98.
3 pick
98, yeah.
because shit, help me out. The actor that was
You
in
did
Karate
go-
Kid that played Terry Silver.
Oh, who played the villain?
Yeah, who played the villain. Who played Valak
Oh,
in
yeah, I
Vampires.
know who you're talking about.
Oh my god, I can't remember his name.
I
But
forget
anyway,
his name too. Yeah.
It's Thomas Ian Griffins, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
think-
Like I always know him as Terry Silver. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah, yep.
that's just how I associate him.
I'm glad you said that. I'm bringing something up while you talk, Chad.
But yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires. Like to me, like okay, I'm picking movies that have problematic people in it, right? I mean, because Chrissy
No.
Swanson, she's a crank now. Like Joss Whedon, he's a abuser Hollywood person. This one, you got James Woods who
Crank.
But back then, of course, I didn't know any of that. I just enjoyed the movie, which was probably for the best because I love these movies. And
Yeah.
James Woods, like I loved his character because he was so witty and like he had like these really funny comebacks, even when he was fighting these terrifying monstrous creatures. But Valak to me again is like one of those like iconic vampires. And I loved the attitude. I loved the look.
Yep.
The movie. I mean, of course, it was John Carpenter. So I mean, you can't skip out on one of the greats who tackled the vampire genre.
I can't argue that, Chad. I rewatched
yeah.
it for this, and I definitely had it on my list. So,
And I love the mythos behind it too. With Valak's origin story and stuff like that. Like it was a unique twist on sort of the vampire myth, if you will.
Right.
So, yeah, it was great. And then I love the soundtrack to it. Definitely had like that Carpenter, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
strumming and stuff. So, John Carpenter's Vampires, 1998, right?
Also, I'll just say this: the girl he picks up, Cheryl Lee, who I had no idea who that was at the time, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but I've come since to know since I watched it. She's Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks. So,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
so when I rewatched it, this I'm going to read you my letterboxed little
Okay.
thing I wrote.
Do it.
It
Share
just
with us,
says,
Josh.
Terry Silver as a master vampire with Laura Palmer as his muse by John Carpenter. I can dig it.
I love it.
I love it. I was like, oh, that's why when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta say it. Oh, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Because as soon as I saw, I was like, Terry Silver? That's all I think of him now is. Too.
Yeah, to me, like I don't even. Sadly, I can't ever remember his name to save my life, but he's always going to be Terry Silver to me.
Yep, exactly.
Karate Kid forever, man. Let me tell you.
Damn right. Damn right. All right. So I'm wrestling here because I have one that's actually like my number one, but I just don't know that you guys are going to choose it, which is why I've been risking it, trying to get some of these other ones because I really think it's still going to be there.
Okay.
But do I go ahead and take it, or do I risk again, knowing I got to get through 2 more Chris picks before it gets back to me?
Oh,
I don't know. You'll probably be okay, Josh.
I think so too, actually. So
But I'd say go with what your major one is. You know.
I think I'm going to hold off one more time because I don't think you're going to pick it. I really don't. I'm running a risk here, but I really don't. I'm going with because I wanted. And before I pick it, let me say this, Chad.
oh no.
Let me say this. I watched a lot of movies to get ready for this,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still a ton more movies that I was like, man, I wish I'd gotten to that. I wish I'd gotten to that. I want to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, I'm also like, I don't care if I ever watch another vampire movie again. I'm a vampire movie now.
It happens.
I'm at 2 extremes because I watched a lot of bad titles that are not going to make this list, like Rockula with Dean Cameron.
Oof,
God awful movie. Tony Basil in the role. I'm like, yes, I watched some bad shit to get ready for this, but
you're committed.
You did too much preparation for it. I think.
I did.
Josh.
I did. I went and watched a lot of. Well, I think there's one title Chris may pick that I'm not going to say because I watched it and I was like, I'm not impressed by this, and everybody talks highly of it. So, okay, it's not going to make my list. But I'm going to go with my only foreign pick because I wanted to watch some more and I didn't get to them. So, This is from 2008. I think. I feel like it's out of Sweden, if I remember.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because that was one I thought about, but yeah.
Let the right one in.
It's a good
That's the one you're talking about, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
It is, and it's a tragic love story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got the vampire aspect to it. You got the bullying aspect about the story of a little boy who lives in this apartment complex. He's kind of lonely. One day he meets this girl, Ellie. Turns out she's a vampire, and she helps him deal with some problems.
Yeah, but then it also turned out she's actually a he.
Well, I wasn't gonna give that away, but yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. That was a It was just like I was like, because there was that twist with the vampire.
There is a twist when he sees it, but they don't make it a big deal, which I thought was a cool aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and
it's been a while since I've seen it, but it was so good.
And she hints at it the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm not a girl. You can't fall in love with me. I'm not a girl. What if I'm not a girl?
Right.
Those statements are made throughout the movie, and then that scene happens where he peeking in on her, and you see that.
Oscar.
Yes. Oscar's the boy. Yes.
Oscar's the boy. Yep.
Yes. And I guess technically the vampire is Eli and not Ellie, but because it's spelled ELI in the subtitles anyway.
Yeah.
Which you would typically say is Eli here in the
Yeah.
States. So, but yeah, and then let me just say this. Top it off with this. There is a pool scene in this movie. At the end.
Yeah.
Wow. Very memorable scene.
Yes. Yeah.
It's definitely in my top 2 pool scenes of all time. I do love the Strangers Pray at Night pool scene, so I don't know if I can put it above that because that's a badass pool scene. But it's definitely top 2. So if you have not seen it, check out Let the Right One In.
It's great. Yeah, I remember some friends of mine told me about it. And I didn't see it in theaters because I think there was a showing, there a very limited showing of it in theaters that came through town at the time. But I remember watching it on DVD, and yeah, I mean it was great. It was a nice, and it came out too at a time when like Twilight was coming out, and Twilight was a big thing.
Was it really around that same time?
And it was,
Yes,
the movie kind of became known as like the Twilight for guys
That's funny.
or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it came out the year after the first Twilight, so yeah, it is around the same time.
But
Because, you know, in the 2000s, I thought was interesting is that's where we also got a lot of, and it goes back further, of course, a little, maybe like late 90s even, you can kind of consider. But we had, I think, a lot of import foreign horror come in, and a lot of that content was so much better than what was being produced by Hollywood
Yeah.
here. You know, everything was so getting to a point where it was watered down, or it was, you know, trying to hop on board another person's trend and so forth, rather than doing something creative and meaningful. And those movies, like going with J horror, for example, like how that was a big thing that really, I think, ushered in a lot more foreign horror, and then into the French new wave of horror. You know, I mean, that just
like
it
High
brought
Tension
in
and
high
stuff like that.
tension
Yeah.
inside. I mean,
Inside, yeah.
it brought a lot of, and then of course with Let the Right One In, it just brought in a lot of new stuff and a lot of things where you could, you as the viewer can be a lot more connected, I think, with the stories and see something maybe a little bit deeper, but a little bit more raw too, you know?
And I will say Matt Reeves' remake, Let Me In, with Chloe Grace Moretz and I think Cody Smith McPhee. It's very good. I just think it was so close to Let the Right One In coming out that it just couldn't make an impact that it probably wanted to. I think it almost was too close because I think Let the Right One In is 2008. I think Let Me In comes out.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
it
It was very
close,
close.
yeah.
Because I mean, I remember getting the DVD, I think when it was dropping. Because I remember hearing about it somehow, maybe through like Fangoria or something like that. And interested, picked it up, and I was like, this is damn good. So I had the DVD for a long time until I upgraded to Blu-ray. But
It was wild too because I remember they had two versions of the DVD. I can't remember
Yes.
what the difference was, but there were two versions of it.
well, there was
I
the thing
remember-
with the subtitles, I think.
Yeah, I think it was something with the subtitles.
But I got like it was something like that, I think, with the Blu-ray. I don't know if it was with the DVD.
Yeah, there was something. There were like two different things, but like it was something wild. But I remember like kind of being on the hunt for it to get the one that everybody was like, yeah, don't get the.
And the kid actors were just amazing in that
Yeah.
movie too.
Yeah.
Good choice, Josh.
All right, Christopher.
My turn.
Yeah, back to you.
Well, mine is also going to be a tragic love story, kind of a Romeo and Juliet. And I am talking about late 80s, female directed, Near Dark.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Oh,
Josh got all excited.
I did have that on my list.
yo, Catherine Bigelow is such an underrated
Yes,
director.
and such good early stuff.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, Near Dark was just a masterpiece. Though it was talk about a different vampire story
Mm-hmm.
than what was being produced back then, and definitely more about the characters and the stories. And Bill Paxton, rest in peace for him,
Yeah.
just absolutely tremendous in the movie, amazing. So yeah, I just had to go with that one because it was just so different and just so good. I love the cinematography. I don't know what it is. Just it's a beautiful movie
Well,
too.
yeah, it's like those '80s movies. They had such really cool cinematography. I think a lot of it was just because they were able to produce such an atmosphere.
Yeah,
You know, with the cinematography and the photography of their movies. But yeah, like
and it's actually one I haven't seen in a while, but
same.
it's
yeah.
one that had, because of this topic that we were going on, I was like, oh yeah, like this one just comes to mind right away, and I was like, I love this one too. This one's good, and a lot of people love it too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I can understand why.
It's good. I definitely think Bill Paxton is the easy highlight of this one.
stand
oh my
out.
God, he is amazing.
Stand out. That bar
Yep.
scene. I mean, he just the way he lets go in that scene, and just I don't know. I don't even know really how to explain it. It's just like you see where he's just lost in this role or something, and he's chewing up any of the scenes he's in. Really, I think he's just enjoying this character.
All right, Chris, we're going right back to you with your next pick then.
Oh yeah, okay, my next pick. This is so hard. Gosh, okay. Sorry, I'm kind of going back and forth between 3 different ones here a little bit, so I'm just trying to narrow it down.
Okay. What will Chris choose?
So, I know, right? Okay. Okay, I'm narrowed down to 2, so I'm deciding. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to do something a little different.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to do something a little different. So this one is 80s as well. It's a classic. It's Japanese anime, Vampire Hunter D.
Oh, nice.
That's a solid choice. Yeah.
So I think it was like 1985, I think, when that came out. And then maybe like late 80s for American and stuff like that. But I remember, okay, so how I end up finding about this movie, I've always been pretty much a little vampire myself in terms of like being a night owl. So as a kid, when we would have summers off and maybe a few weekends throughout the year, I remember this one night in particular, I was up really late. I was flipping through the TV. And so this might have been like, I don't know, maybe like a TBS or something like that. But for whatever reason, they were playing anime late at night. And I came across that it was Vampire Hunter D. So I came across the scene where one is where I think it's him and where the girl like make love in the scene, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, I have never seen cartoons naked before. Like it was so different. I was like, what is going on?
Keep in mind, we never saw the cartoon Bible stories.
No, I just never
Genesis.
I just never seen anything really like it. And then watching more into like just seeing of course, the vampire aspects to it, Vampire Hunter D himself being the cool character, and just the different monsters and creatures he kind of runs into, and then the setting itself where it's kind of like a apocalyptic western or something, futuristic. It's so different and unique. So and then his hand as well, having like the face on the palm having these weird abilities to it. So yeah, I was like, man, and I remember it stayed with me for the longest time. I never knew what the name of the movie was because I couldn't find out what it was, and then it just
wasn't as easy back then.
A little bit later, because Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust come out like in the early 2000s, I think. So then that's like, oh, okay, that's what it was. It was Vampire Hunter, but it's the original movie, not Bloodlust. So
I watched one of these movies with you guys, but I don't remember which. It definitely wasn't this night. It was just at some point. I don't remember it hardly at all, though. So I didn't even think about this movie.
Oh, I know it's been a long time, right?
Yeah, it's been forever since I've seen it, and it was only the once. So,
but it's so much fun, man, and the imagery, just the animation itself, like it's really good. It's good animation for what it was even back then, and I know like a lot has advanced even since that movie, even in the late 80s and in the 90s, but it still holds up and it's really good. Love it. The imagery is great. I like the universe, the characters. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's a great Japanese anime.
Okay. All right, back to me. And even though I don't think Chad will take the movie I'm thinking of, I think I'm going to go ahead and take it off the board anyway, just in case he pulls a fast one on me. This is easily what is my favorite vampire movie. Although we'll say, and obviously we've already been going through and spoiling some of these. Just saying this is a vampire movie is a spoiler for this movie if you haven't seen it. So I don't know if that gives it to let you guys know what I'm about to pick, but just saying this movie's a vampire movie is a spoiler for this movie because you don't find that out until about 45, 50 minutes in. that it's a vampire movie?
Oh gosh,
No, it's not coming to you. So
no.
No.
Like what? And what's the decade then?
90s, 1996.
1996. All right. Oh man, it's
I don't know. I'm drawing. a
Oh.
blank.
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Dracula Dead. That's actually one of the movies that I have written down on my list of movies. Oh man, I love that one.
Oh, that's funny, Chad. But two, no, I don't think that lets you know. I think you know right away that's a vampire movie. Chris.
I know.
Uh,
Oh
No.
man, I'm honestly really trying to think. I'm like, okay, what's a movie, a vampire movie
I don't
where you
know.
don't? Oh wait,
Innocent Blood.
wait. I think I know. No. I think I know now. I think we were talking about the director earlier. Off camera, if you will. I think it's
well,
I think it's Tarantino in it.
he's in it. He
You know
did
what I'm
not
talking about.
direct it.
From Dusk Till Dawn
Oh.
is what I think he's going
Yep,
with.
From Dusk Till Dawn. That's it. He did
That's
not
on my
direct
list
it.
too. Damn. Yeah.
It's
But he did get to gobble feet.
He did get to gobble.
Salma Hayek's feet.
That's
So
right.
yeah,
Salma Hayek's feet. Yeah.
absolutely. So obviously this movie, has Quentin Tarantino in it, George Clooney, Harvey Keitel,
Hard
Juliette
cast,
Lewis,
yeah.
Tom Savini
Tom
as Sex
Savini.
Machine. I mean, how cool is
Mhm.
that?
Cheech Marin.
Cheech Marin. Yeah.
Cheech Marin outside the bar trying to get people to
Titty
come.
twister. The titty twister.
Well, he's promoting. He's doing his job. He's trying to promote the business, trying to draw in the crowd.
I swear, sometimes I'll just randomly say that. I'll be like,
Yeah.
wet pussy,
Well, you're
dry
snapping
pussy,
wet-
snapping pussy. If you find cheaper pussy anywhere, fuck it.
Bloody pussy.
I mean, it's wild. And he plays another role at the end of the movie as well.
Mm.
But yeah, a lot of people think this is Tarantino helped co-write it with Robert Rodriguez, but Rodriguez directed this movie.
Mm.
But yeah, it starts as these two brothers on the run, and you think it's a crime film, and then they end up at this titty twister, and it turns out this is a vampire bar.
In the desert, by the way.
Yeah,
Middle of
yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah.
and they've taken Harvey Keitel and his family hostage. Harvey Keitel was once a priest, but has lost his faith. That's because he lost his wife. So you get that part of the storyline. You get the Tarantino obsessed with Juliette Lewis's character in the van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he's got the neck tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, and then,
And then Selma Hayek, you find out something else with her. And
oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and that's the thing. I think there's
A
some
dance
badass-
scene.
Yeah,
A
there-
dance scene.
well, yes, I love that dance scene as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm, I know.
I love the vampire transformations. I love how all cool they look. Which, of course, you have Tom
Yeah.
Savini
Vampires
working
look
on it,
awesome,
so obviously
man.
it's gonna
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
good. I mean, he's in the damn
The
thing.
cock gun.
Yep, the cock
Oh,
gun.
yeah, the cock pistol.
Which the guy he shows it to, I didn't know who he was at the time, but that's Greg Nicotero.
That's
wow.
funny.
When I watched the scene back, I'm like,
That's
oh,
funny.
yeah,
I
that's
didn't even
Greg
realize that.
Nicotero.
Shit.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I love Tom Savini's name in the movie, Sex Machine.
Yes.
Yep, Fred Williamson is in it as the other guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name in the movie, but he's been in a ton of stuff. You'll recognize a ton of people in this cast. Danny Trejo.
There really is.
I mean, Danny Trejo,
Yes.
the bartender.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, this whole movie, just beginning to end, badass. I love it. And I
is.
was right. You
And then
guys
once
should
it-
not have picked it. I
Yeah.
could have waited till the end and got
You're right.
whatever else. 'Cause I had a feeling you wouldn't, but I was like,
I think I have it like on the list in terms
I
of like
do
all those
too,
vampire
yeah.
films, but it wasn't one that I was going to necessarily pick right away. So I think it may have crossed my mind, but I was like, you know what? Let me try something different. Let me try something different.
all right, well, I'm glad I got it. I want to make sure I had it. I knew I could pick it late. I didn't have to take it first.
That's a good choice though too, Josh. That's a really because it is a wild ride.
Oh, it
That
definitely is.
once the shit goes down, then it's a ride from there to the end.
Absolutely. So with my fourth pick, now we go to Chad. I have chosen From Dusk Till Dawn. Now it's Chad's turn.
I have chosen.
He has chosen. So my number 4, right? I think that's where we're at.
Yep.
Number 4 is a 2003 film.
I don't think I know what this is.
Yeah. And kind of speaks to my character about vampires in action. It's the movie Underworld, directed by Len Wiseman.
Okay.
And stars Kate Beckinsale as Celine.
I don't know why I was thinking like
And-
30 Days of Night for a second. I was like, no, that's like late 2000s.
It's late 2000s. Oh, that's a good movie too. I like 30 Days a Night.
No, as soon as he said it, I
Um,
knew where he was going. I remember us.
Yeah,
I remember
just-
us going to
I-
see this in 2003. Actually.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great, and it combines two of my favorite monsters, which are vampires and werewolves, stuck in this eternal war between each other, which is kind of crazy because like if you've ever watched like all the movies, I mean the vampires are not very sympathetic characters, because it's really a story about fighting for independence, but also later on you do kind of realize that the vampires do serve their purpose because the werewolves are kind of like a almost like a virus. If they don't contain it, like it'll spread. Like people will just everybody on Earth will turn into a fucking werewolf. So it's this
have
weird
that.
balance, right? You can't have that. But yeah, like Kate Beckinsale just kicks ass in this movie. It was Len Wiseman's feature film debut, if I'm correct. It was his feature film debut. And sort of, he kind of went on to do some other things. Like he did the Total Recall remake, which I know people kind of shit on, but I actually really liked the Total Recall remake with Colin Farrell
Oh wait, did I see?
and Kate
Yeah,
Beckinsale.
that's a good one.
Yeah, he's done a lot of TV shows. He did like Sleepy Hollow. He did Swamp Thing. So he's done a lot. But yeah, Underworld was it was great. It was martial arts. It was monsters. It was guns and explosions and So yeah, and also Michael Sheen, who is amazing. He kind of reminds me of Gary Oldman in a lot of ways because he's kind of a chameleon. Like he looks different in like every movie in every role that he's in. He just looks different. But his portrayal as Lucian, the werewolf, is just superb, in my opinion. I like the character. So yeah. So Underworld, number 4.
I like that a lot because 2003 is such a special year for me because we had the three of
We were at
us.
the
We had
movies, like,
so
every
much fun. We
weekend.
were at the movies every weekend, something to see.
Oh, I know.
Something's
If
there.
only I could find a way to put Freddy vs. Jason in a vampire draft, I would. But
Oh my god, that was just. We saw it like what, twice, 3 times in theaters,
Something like that. Yeah.
3 times, right? Yeah, we supported that movie. We made sure that it at least got to number 1, and it did.
Yep, it did. All right, Chad.
That's for damn sure.
With your final pick.
I know it's tough, right?
It is tough.
Because you want to end on a good note. You're like, oh, what do I pick for a good note?
Don't worry, we're gonna run down our picks at the end of this. Don't worry.
Well, I know Josh kind of encouraged me to pick a foreign movie.
That's up to you.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a foreign film. It's this director. It's his feature film debut. It's a Mexican movie, and
I know what
It's-
you're going for.
yeah.
Damn it, that was like one of my choices. Now,
it's
yeah.
Kronos,
That's what I
directed by Guillermo del Toro.
So good.
Again, it's a different take on the vampire myth, and it's very quintessential del Toro.
Yeah.
You've got like the supernatural element in it. You got like sort of like the misunderstood monster,
The child character.
the
Because he
child
has a thing
character,
about with children and
and you've
his
got
fantasies.
like these
yeah.
like special props, these devices and
Mhm.
stuff like that. That kind of has like that insectoid sort of.
Just beautifully designed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just just a fantastic vampire
It
film.
is. Beautiful.
And the thing is, like del Toro, he's known for he's a big fan of vampires, but he's definitely somebody who likes to do a more sort of monstrous take on the vampire rather than like have them be in this like European suave, sexy.
Well,
like
it's-
for
it's
him, like they're
definitely-
monsters, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like I mean, he did Blade 2. You see the monsters, the vampires he did in that one.
He has a thing for the monsters are tragic.
Yeah.
They're tragic characters. Yeah. And you definitely get that with the case in this
Well,
movie.
and I mean, and it fits too because I mean, a lot of these characters, like Dracula, for instance. I mean, he, that character spins out of, a tragic gothic tale. So
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of these characters are that they are tragic. So So yeah. So Kronos,
Okay.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I've watched that once, so I don't. My memory is very fuzzy on it. It would have been with you guys actually. That would have been the time I saw it at some point. So I don't.
It's definitely worth revisiting again, that's for sure.
Sure.
Because it's been a
Yeah.
while for me too. But
Chris, do you own the
there's-
Criterion?
yeah. I do actually. Yes.
I
Yes.
thought you might.
And I do too.
I thought you might.
Thanks for
Like,
asking.
I got pretty much the Del Toro
Okay.
Criterions, but I'm excited too because Pinocchio is coming out. in
Yeah, this
November, so-
Pinocchio film's coming out in December on Criterion.
Oh,
And I'm excited because
Oh,
next
okay.
month, The Others is coming out on Criterion.
That's true,
It's not a
yeah.
vampire movie or anything, but The Others is coming out on Criterion.
I love
I
The
know,
Others.
there's
Man,
so much fun.
I
Such a
love The
good
Others
haunted
so
house
much.
movie. Oh, man.
Still, it's like I remember. This is gonna be a side tangent, but whatever. I remember us watching The Others, and it was kind of like, whatever. Didn't pay that much attention to it, and then I went back and I watched it in my room with all the lights off by myself one
You
night.
were spooked out, weren't you?
I remember I walked out and my mom was sitting there watching something else, and I was like, "Oh, that creeped me out." And she looked at me knowing what I watched. She's like, "Well, that's a movie I'll never be watching then."
Oh, are you mad? I am your daughter.
I am your daughter.
Yeah, there's that scene that everybody knows, but man, there's just so much more to The Others than that. Oh my god,
There
Open the
is. There is.
there's so much more to it.
Oh man, so I guess it's my turn now, right?
No, it's my final
No?
pick first, and then your final pick.
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead, line,
okay,
Chris.
okay.
All right, Joshua, what's your final pick?
I'm picking one that honestly I think people might be surprised it hasn't been taken off the board yet. And I said I was going to do this thing when we were talking off mic about reading the taglines, and I ended up not doing it. But this one has a fantastic tagline, and I can't resist. And Chris, you should get it. Chad, you might get it, but Chris, you should get
We'll
it.
see.
Just
We'll
from
see.
the tagline alone. It's pretty iconic, I think. Sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die.
Okay.
It's fun to be a vampire.
Oh my
Love
god,
it.
that's
I
a
love
good
it,
one too. Yes, I know
Know
we're talking
exactly
about
what
that.
you're
Yep.
talking about. Yeah.
1987, Joel Schumacher's The Lost Boys.
Boom.
Iconic,
And here's the tale of the
legendary.
tape.
I mean, Kiefer Sutherland in this.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally made you want to be a vampire. Like, this dude is fucking cool. I want to be
Yeah.
like him.
Well, maybe it sounds weird, but and maybe people and maybe I'm just behind on it or what, but it has that Peter Pan effect to it.
Yeah.
It's
that's
really
fair.
kind of like a Peter Pan tale to me.
Hence the Lost Boys.
Yeah. So
It is called The Lost Boys.
and
I mean,
it is focused on kids as the main characters, teenagers technically, I guess you say, but
Yeah,
still they're less than 18 and
fair enough.
here they are, kind of off on their own, but in this case it's a very violent thing. And then of course, I mean, what the twist with the guy that Diane Wiest is dating, I mean, that's
Right.
but he's kind of like your Captain Hook of
Yeah.
the story.
Yeah, I like that. That's not bad. I like that.
And what's her name is basically Wendy.
Oh, Jamie
Jamie
Gertz.
Gertz.
Yes.
I don't remember her
Yeah.
character name, but yeah, Jamie Gertz. Yeah, and
I just remember her from the movie Twister.
Oh yeah.
She's like, "We got cows," and then the cows like flying by in the Twister.
I always forget
and she
she's
was in
in
that.
that.
And she was in that. And she was in the TV show.
Yes.
Still Standing,
yes.
which was
with
also
Mark
really
Addy.
great.
Yes, I did
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
I like that show. But it's also the first
Well,
time
anyway,
you get
yeah.
the Corys together. This is their first time.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
man.
became an iconic
And the bathtub
duo.
scene, singing with the bathtub.
Yes.
Yeah, and the rubber ducky in there too, I think.
Oh, yes. But I couldn't let this list go by without the Lost Boys. I had a couple others, and I'm like, I don't think they're going to choose it. So I'm going to have to put it on the list. It's got to be on one of these lists somewhere.
Right?
It's hard to have vampire
good-
movie
good
lists
picks,
without
a
the
good one.
Lost Boys listed. And I was able to get it at
Man,
5.
let's pick some good ones.
Yeah. So, Chris, you're going to close out the list. Oh, Chris has a
I'm trying to
choice
think.
to make.
I know. I'm trying to. Chad picked like really the one I was majorly thinking,
Oh, Chronos. Okay.
and yeah. So I'm sitting here trying to think like, do I close out with maybe something big or maybe something a little obscure, or just like something different, you know? But I would say my whole list has been pretty different for the most part. So,
No, it's been pretty run of the mill.
well, thanks. I appreciate it, Chad. I think for me, I will continue in the Fright Night universe and put Fright Night Part 2, 88.
It's a good one.
I have never
Let's talk about
watched
what,
this.
Mr. Benson.
I love Regine, for one.
Mm-hmm.
Love her so much. Amazing vampire
Girl
queen.
boss, love
Jerry
it.
Jerry Danger's sister, who's come back for revenge on Charlie. And so the things are turned around now because now Charlie is pretty much the damsel in distress and he has to be rescued. So, but you got the return of Roddy McDowell and oh my gosh. And then you got definitely some interesting vampire. Like you have, oh man, there's the one guy, he's not even really a vampire, but he's kind of like a guy that chauffeurs them around, but he's been in everything. Once you see him, he was like the bad guy in everything you've probably seen. Oh man, he was a big, also muscular guy. He just had this weird face to him. I know it sounds bad.
He played Shao Kahn, I think.
Yes,
in Mortal Kombat.
I think so.
Annihilation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Oh my God, why is his name Brian?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Jesus.
Yeah, I
Brian
forget his name
Thompson.
too.
There it is. That's like
There you go.
when you said that.
He's in it, and then the other one being also another familiar guy, and he ends up with his vampire abilities turning into a werewolf in the movie from Monster Squad.
Oh, John Grease. John
It's
Grease.
the same guy. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So, yeah, and it's also a really good. I would say it's just about as good as the first movie.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's really a good sequel. I think the only thing we're missing, of course, is Amanda Bierce. But at that time, she was doing Married with Children, and so we have a different love interest for Charlie. But I think she's not that bad of a character either because I think she's a little bit more stronger than what Amanda's character was in Fright Night. Because, like I said, Charlie kind of comes that damsel in distress in this one. But the big thing is, honestly, it's Regine, who just snatched for the gods. She's just amazing. Just amazing. Love her.
All right. Wow. I've never seen this.
yeah.
I've never
So
had the
I'll go with
opportunity to watch this one. No.
Really? Oh, I thought you had seen it.
Highly recommended.
No, I recommend you definitely see it too. It's good.
Is this movie available anywhere?
Because you almost
I never seem to be able to find it.
They used to have it on Amazon. Right?
it used to be streaming in some places, but it never really had the only physical release it had was a DVD many years ago, but it was very poor quality. So now you can get HD good qualities because of the streaming that it's been through. You can find Blu-rays that were made. You know what I mean? For the movie, and it is really good, excellent quality for what it is.
I
But
forgot because I had to buy mine.
I got mine actually
Through the
from
dark
a
web.
convention.
Oh, yeah,
that
there
actually
you
had it. I think it was pretty cheap, But that was at a time too where you could
find those things.
Sign
at a
some of those
convention.
things,
Yeah,
and
you can't find them no more at conventions. They don't have those kind of booths there anymore.
Those don't have the bootlegs, if you will.
Yeah.
But you can find it online in eBay, definitely for great quality Blu-ray, and it will even include some special features. There's it's part of that documentary. The Brewster,
You're So Cool, Brewster
documentary. Yeah. So there's some good ones out there with those special features attached, but people are still waiting for that official, Blu-ray, at least North American release for it. But I don't know why. It's just so hard because of the rights. I don't know why.
Come on,
that
Scream
is.
Factory. Figure this shit out.
I know Scream Factory, somebody, Vinegar Syndrome, somebody, I don't know. Anybody out there who can get it, just please.
Arrow,
but I mean, I know anything can happen. So there's some movies that no one ever thought would see the light of
Well,
day in terms of Blu-rays and stuff.
Chris,
but
I say
we're getting
dream
there.
big. Why not?
I'm looking at you, Fade to Black.
Right? There was a Spookies.
Fade to
Spookies was
Black
one I
was
don't
one.
think people even thought would
What's
probably
the
make
Spookies?
Blu-ray, but there's a lot more. Yeah, there's more that's making its coming out of the tombs, if you will, and but there's still more movies to
Yes.
save.
I know. I'm still waiting on Meet the
I know,
Alchemists.
right? See, that's another one.
Doesn't
And
it
like
have
for
the
me,
eggs
it's
fall out of her when she
you know,
falls onto the ground.
yes,
The egg, she plops
Yes.
down the eggs like
the daughter.
Yes.
Yeah,
and the guy
Yeah.
smashed the egg. Ugh.
And I think is it Ed Bakley Jr.
And
Well,
Stockton
yeah.
Channing.
Yeah, Stalker Channing's
Channing.
wife. That's right.
Man, that movie traumatized me as a kid when
I
that
know,
egg
remember
fell
it
out
was-
of her and the guy crushed it, stepped on it.
I used to.
It was one of those movies that we rented
Insects,
from.
giant
I
insects.
rented
No,
that
I don't think
movie quite a bit. Like I probably
Yeah.
went and rented it with you guys, and I also rented it back at my own house too. So
We rented it when we were living
Okay,
up in West.
okay.
We were that little when we were West Virginia. Yeah, and there was like this. I remember we lived on this house that was like literally on top of a mountain, and below the mountain, if you will, was
a video,
a
hole in the wall, video
hole in the
store.
wall video store, and we actually rented it from there. And another one for me at that time in that store, because I have it's precious memories to me. But Return to Oz was another one too.
Oh,
from
yeah.
there that I remember just absolutely loving, and it was
I
freaky.
watched that for the first time this
Freaked
year.
me out too.
I'd never
Really?
seen it.
It's great, isn't it?
You
I
never
was there
seen
this
it?
year when we watched it with the kids. Yeah.
What? What? It's
It is.
creepy.
Did you get scared by
The Wheelers. Oh my god.
No, I would have
The
made
Wheelers
Wheelers
and
younger
then,
to be scared by him, Chad. Sorry.
And then Princess Mombi too. like
Princess
with,
Mombi, yeah.
the scene where she gets up from the bed. with her-
Dorothy Gale.
Yeah. Dorothy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going off on a tangent, but anyway, yeah. Fright Night Part 2. You got to see it,
All right,
Josh.
so I'm gonna run down the picks here in a minute, but before we get there, were there any movies that what were you wrestling with? What were some of the titles you were wrestling with putting on this list?
Interview with a Vampire was
Yeah.
one.
That was mine.
Chronos was definitely one until Chad,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
kind of took it. What was Bram Stoker's Dracula? But you took it first.
Right, I
Same. Yeah.
And then
And for me, like 30 Days of
I
Night.
had that on my list.
I had a Vampire in Brooklyn, Eddie Murphy.
I do
Angela
love
Bassett.
that
that
movie.
would have been
That's
fun.
a great
I do
one.
love that movie.
Let's see. What else did I have on here?
Lair of the White Worm. Was
Lair of the
one.
White
Apparently, I need to
Um,
watch this.
I also had the 1931 Dracula movie
Yeah.
with Bela Lugosi.
I
You can't
wondered
go
why
wrong
no
with
one picked it. And
Life Force was another one.
that. Oh yeah,
Space
Life Force,
Vampires.
That I thought about. Yeah, that one was one I thought about.
yeah. Innocent Blood with Robert.
Yes,
Loggia.
that was another one too.
I need
yeah.
to watch that. I remember
And,
us watching it a lot as a kid, but I don't remember the movie itself now, so I couldn't.
And then one that Vamp I thought about because I love Grace Jones in that movie. It's a
I've
like
never seen that.
it's a
one.
little slow,
Yeah,
but
Full
yeah.
Slow.
it's still good.
Robert Russell's in that one.
Yes,
I watched that for the
and
first
like
time.
and then another one was one that I watched actually this morning, which I kind of told you off camera, but it was the Japanese Dracula's Legacy, the Vampire Doll, which I did see, and that's a fun one. It's nice to see it was a Toho production, so that's the same people who make Godzilla
right.
and all.
Okay.
I also had,
It's a little slow, but it's a short movie as
Yeah.
well. But it has that Hammer vibe to it, which was pretty much their inspiration. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the other two movies in the trilogy.
I also had like Dracula from '79, which had Frank
I've
Langella
never seen that version.
in the role.
Yeah, and I'm surprised too. Like we didn't think about any of the horror Hammer Dracula movies.
Not that it's a good movie, but just because the soundtrack is awesing, Queen
Hey.
of the Damned.
I had it
No.
on my list, Chad. I had it on my list.
And then we're gonna have Salem's Lot on there.
Yep.
From
It's
79.
been so long. I was like, do I rewatch this? And I'm like, it's 3 hours. Do I really have time to rewatch this? So I ended up not doing
And
it.
Josh's like, yes.
I did not rewatch Salem's Lot.
And also Dracula Dead and loving it.
Yeah, I know, right? I had that even on the list of movies I've seen. I was
Um,
like, let me just put it on there.
I also had A Girl Walks Home
Home Alone at Night.
Alone at Night. Yeah.
I thought the atmosphere was good in that one, but I wasn't overly impressed because I watched that for this, and I heard a lot of good things about it.
I've never seen it.
So
Never seen it.
Oh yeah, I also forgot about this one too. Shadow of the Vampire.
I watched that for this.
Oh yeah, a lot of people love that
Yeah.
one too.
That's a good one.
In fact, I
Blood Red
watched.
Sky.
I have not seen Blood Red Sky, but I did. I watched Nosferatu and Shadow of the Vampire back to back.
Wait, which Nosferatu?
70s
No,
one,
the
right?
22 version.
The 22.
Oh,
So the
never
one
mind,
that
okay.
Shadow
That
of the
one's-
Vampire is talking about.
Yeah. So that one's good. If you ever get a chance though, you should watch the Werner Herzog.
Yeah, the one with Klaus Kinski.
Nosferatu the Vampire.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw
Because
it on
good?
Tubi.
I like the way he plays the character because he
Oh.
plays the character almost kind of like a junkie.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's pretty frightening as
I know it's a cult classic. I know
Yeah.
that, but
and actually Robert Eggers,
Yeah.
a guy who did the Northman and the
he's
Witch,
doing-
the Witch and stuff. He's doing he's doing a remake of Nosferatu, which I think is going to
Oh,
be
wow.
amazing because I like Robert Eggers films. He has such great atmosphere to his movies.
Yeah, one I
the
thought-
Northman was great.
Oh, I love
So
the
I
Northman.
mean, if you don't like the Vivitch, or you don't like the
The
Lighthouse,
Vitch.
the Northman was just great. Like I'm sad that it didn't do better in the theaters.
Yeah.
Well, see, I know. I put it on the list because I was thinking like I'll probably see it before the podcast here, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. But the movie version of What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, okay.
That's another one I had on my list too. Yeah, I love that movie, and I probably more so I love the TV show. Like,
You've been
I just
binging it,
been
yeah.
binging it, and I finally got caught up with it.
Yeah, I've never watched the
Um,
show. I did watch the movie way back
you
when.
you're missing out on it. You're missing out on it because
It's good.
The vampires
It's
on
pretty
there
funny,
are
yeah.
so funny.
I think.
And what's interesting is I didn't realize this, but like the lead vampire, her name's Nadja
Mhm.
on there. I didn't realize, but there's actually a movie from the '90s, a vampire movie called Nadja.
Oh,
From the '90s
wow.
as well, which I have on my list to watch now. Because I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this. And then there's a Lily Taylor movie from the '90s called The Addiction.
Oh, I know. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that I also want to see. So
Yeah.
Wow.
I almost,
That's a lot of titles,
I
right?
almost put Vampire's Kiss with Nick Cage on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have it on my list too, but I
It's a
was
great
like,
one.
let me wait.
did you see Renfield
Yep.
yet?
Renfield's good.
It was good. I mean, Nick Cage was definitely the best part of that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, he is.
I like his portrayal as Dracula.
Yeah, and it's like I want more. I want a full Nick Cage Dracula movie. Like
Yeah.
I can't complain because the movie is called Renfield, so it's not supposed to be about him.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, it had some good blood and gore in it too, so I wasn't expecting.
And then Chris and I recently saw The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which was actually pretty good.
I know you guys talked
Uh,
about it. I wondered if you would put it on this
yeah.
list.
It's actually on
I mean,
my list.
I have it written on there, but
Yeah.
I know if I'm going to pick a top 5,
Yeah, I don't think it's
I'm
gonna
not
be
going
in
to put it on
there.
there. Because like for me, it was good, but it wasn't great either. So
Okay. Well, I wanted to throw out.
I mean, on my letterbox, I gave it 3.5.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
think.
Well, Chris, one that I think you ranked pretty highly, if I'm not mistaken, when I saw your letterbox for it, and one that I just didn't connect with that I watched for this, and I thought you'd put on your list, and you didn't. The Hunger.
Oh yeah. I did
Yeah.
have it written. I did have it written, and I did debate on it. I did, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna pull this card yet. I'm not gonna pull because there was just some other ones. I was like, wait, I really want to go with this one and this one. So, but yeah, I did have that one on there. I don't know. I just really enjoyed with that one. I mean, I could probably have another session with, but I really love the atmosphere in that one, and I really love it. Kind of reminds me, honestly, of an '80s music video. The way that it's filmed,
Yeah.
it has these really interesting kind of colors, but yet it's very kind of a dark atmosphere to it. I don't know how to explain it. And then of course oh my gosh, what's her name?
Susan Sarandon.
Deneuve.
Oh yeah, Catherine.
No,
Catherine.
Catherine
yes.
Deneuve, yeah, she was pretty wicked in that one. So, I know it's a bit of a slow burner to an extent, but it's worth it. It's really well done. So, I mean, it's a cult classic.
Yeah.
Probably not a lot of people got hooked onto it right
Right.
away, but it's also a different kind of mythos, I think, to the vampire
True.
aspect.
True. I also watched for the first time George Romero's Martin, which I'd always heard about.
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't
that's
seen
what
that
I
one.
wanna
I
see.
want to
Yeah.
see that one. Yeah.
I wasn't as impressed as I was hoping to be, but I still say it's worth a watch. Just was no way it was going to make this particular list.
Well, interesting you put that one on there. The other one too I put on my list was Rabbit from the 70s.
Mm.
Okay. I wondered, is that a vampire movie? I wasn't sure.
It's kind of like a vampire, not in your traditional
Right.
sense, but it's kind of like that in a way because she is having to
She has an armpit monster, doesn't
I don't know how
she?
to explain it. It's like this thing in her that she needs to get she has to suck the blood from her victims. She has it is a big addiction. She can't eat anything else as well. She can't eat regular food. But she has this thing where she it's this urge where she has to kill these people, but unfortunately it turns them into these rabid creatures, hence rabbit. So it's like giving them rabies in a way. But she's kind of like a vampire where that's all she can do. She has to
Right.
suck this blood for surviving and all.
Okay. All right. I think I'm going to run through the picks real quick. So,
Alrighty.
I have the list here. So, Chad went with Monster Squad, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, John Carpenter's Vampires, Underworld, and Kronos. Not a bad list. Not a
Yeah.
bad list.
Could have been better, but
What's the tail of the tape for that one?
All right. I went second. My picks were Bram Stoker's Dracula, Blade, the first one, Let the Right One In, From Dusk Till Dawn, and The Lost Boys.
All
like
good
it.
choices.
yep, solid
All right,
choices.
and
yeah.
Chris, who turns out bookends his list with Fright Night. I didn't realize that.
Right?
Starts off with the original Fright Night from 1985. Then went with Tales from the Crypt presents Bordello of Blood. Followed by Near Dark. Brought some anime to the list with Vampire Hunter D. And closed out with Fright Night Part 2. Bookending his list. I like it.
Interesting list.
So remember, guys, go on Twitter /X, however you want to call it, YNF Movie Pod. Vote on this poll. Let's determine who was the winner, who had the best selection of vampire movies. And it all depends on...
And what vampire movies have you seen from everything we talked
yeah,
about?
absolutely.
Let us know. And what's your top 5?
Yeah, what are your top 5
There you
vampire
go.
films?
That's another good way of looking at
If
it.
Josh determines that, then somebody wins. I don't
We'll
know,
see.
a shout out.
A shout out.
Josh will follow you back on social media. I was going to make a foot joke here, but I just
No,
couldn't make it fit.
that's a good one too.
All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. Let's get out of here. Chad, available
Right.
nowhere. Chris, are you doing anything lately?
You can find me on Instagram at xtopherbaz and Twitter at cbcmonkey, and of course I'm on Letterboxd. But just go to Josh's Letterboxd and you can find me there.
To get to that letterbox, the easiest thing to do, linktr.ee/YNFmoviepod. It'll have the Twitter link. It'll also have my letterbox link. So then you can find Chris and you can see what I'm watching that's not being covered on the show. And I don't know that we have anything else this month, but I can tell you that Chad and Chris will be back with an episode next month. And they will be talking with... Oh, what does he call him? I know his name's Dominic, but he has a certain name he goes by on his show.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is either. I kept calling him Dominic on the
It's
on the
something
thing.
D from the Monster Movie Fun Time Go podcast. And he...
Yes.
Well, he's gonna love that part. Where
He's like, what the fuck?
we're thinking. Sorry, Dominic.
Sorry,
Well, we'll just say
Dominic.
Dominic
Love
from the
you.
Monster Movie Fun Time Go podcast. And
There
he
we
will
go.
tell you why Josie and the Pussycats should be your next favorite movie. Till then, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you next time.